Since the start of the year 2020, economic and social activities have gradually been on the decline in China, the epicenter of the coronavirus pandemic, and other countries owing to the rapid spread of the disease and high fatality rates. Nigeria had its first reported case of COVID-19 on the 27th of February, and since then the number of infected persons have been rising with each passing day. In a bid to curb the spread of the virus, President Muhammadu Buhari, in a nationwide broadcast on Sunday, 29th of March 2020, announced 14-day lockdown on Lagos and Abuja, which had the highest number of infected persons, as well as Ogun State, because of its proximity to Lagos State. On this edition of Frontiers, we will be taking a look at the President's broadcast. I am Obiagelu Goke, and our guest is a behavioral expert, James Komolafe. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Abi. Good to be here.
We'll now take an excerpt on the President's broadcast.
The whole instruments of government are now mobilized to confront what has now become both a health emergency and an economic crisis.
As a nation, President Muhammadu Buhari said Nigeria's response to COVID-19 must be guided, systematic, and professional. And in doing so, he emphasized there is no such thing as overreaction or underreaction, rather the right reaction by critical institutions of government and experts. He said with Lagos and the FCT having the highest number of confirmed cases of coronavirus, cessation of all movements is imperative.
All citizens in these areas are to stay in their homes. Travel to or from other states should be postponed. All businesses and offices within these locations should be fully closed during this period. We will use this containment period to identify, trace, and isolate all individuals that have come into contact with confirmed cases. We will ensure the treatment of confirmed cases while restricting further spread to other states.
The restriction order, he said, does not apply to institutions and individuals on essential services. President Buhari explained that the federal government is fully aware that such measures will cause hardship and inconveniences to many citizens. He was, however, quick to add that with the dreadful situation in other parts of the world, this is a matter of life and death. President Buhari announced various palliative measures to ease the pains of those whose livelihoods will be affected by the restrictive measures in the coming weeks, while directing the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs to develop strategies towards sustaining the school feeding program during this period. The President also ordered the immediate implementation of a 3-month repayment moratorium for all trader money, market money, and farmer money loans. The federal government, he said, is committed to doing whatever it takes towards confronting COVID-19.
I want to assure you all that government ministries, departments, and agencies with a role to play in the outbreak response are working hard to bring this virus under control.
President Muhammadu Buhari thanked all healthcare workers and other essential staff on the front lines of the response against the global pandemic for their dedication and commitment, describing them as true heroes.
The President, in his broadcast, commended the Ministry of Health and the National Center for Disease Control. How would you describe the handling of confirmed cases so far and the tracing of contact since COVID-19 was first reported in Nigeria?
Wow, kudos to our health practitioners, from the Minister of Health to the Governor of Lagos State and everybody. It's been an exciting and appalling time at the same time, but We've seen them on their feet, combing everywhere, not sleeping, just to ensure that every case is traced, tracked, and every necessary precaution is taken into cognizance. So it's a whole lot, and in fact, just like the president applauded their effort, so it is so applauded here, and everyone is applauding their effort.
What areas should the frontline response take into cognizance to further contain the spread of the virus?
Well, just like the president did mention, Obi, of the two stages approach of the government: protection of lives, property, people, family, and then preservation after being protected. Very critical. But the third phase, which is more or less from the people's side, and whatever the government can still do, is the production side. When you preserve the people and you protect them, and during this time of isolation, people don't know what to do to be productive. We can have a counterproductive effect on the psyche of people in homes and in families, because isolation on its own, it's an exercise that people in this side of the world are not used to. So we need to be able to see, isolation is not an abstract word. It's not just to go and abandon yourself somewhere and hoping for the best. You have activities to do, you have reality to face, and you have ability to dispense as a responsible person during isolation. So it is very vital that the stakeholders, the minister, the president, and everybody, all hands must be on deck to ensure that people are productive during isolation.
Now, to further contain the spread of the virus, President Buhari, based on advice of the Federal Ministry of Health as well as NCDC, gave order for complete cessation of movements in Lagos, FCT, and Ogun State. What's your take on that?
It's very fundamental, and it is just appropriate for now, because you see, up till tomorrow, prevention is better than cure. Each passing day we wake up to the reality of new cases, and the number is moving from just being ordinary to extraordinary. So the best bet is to shut down so that we don't encourage the spread of COVID-19. And shutting down means people will have to recline back to their homes and see what they can do to stop the spread, because staying back at home is telling coronavirus, no parking here, no way for you here, we're wiser than you, and we won't entertain your being around us here.
But now, based on the complaints that we've received, it's not really easy to just stay at home. How would you advise Nigerians in order to be able to cope with this 14 days cessation period?
The advice we have is very germane, especially at this time. Like I said before, isolation is not just to sit down and fold your hand. Isolation, you must take the third variable of isolation. The first being protection, protect yourself. The second being preserve yourself. And the third being produce for yourself. And 10 things are involved. If you will have to make the best of isolation, the first thing is you have to examine yourself. Look at your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and see where to tweak to be your best. The second thing is explore into yourself. Where do I need to dig deeper to know myself better and appreciate better? The third is expand yourself. Where do I need to expand to enlarge myself? The fourth is exercise. What kind of aerobics, mental exercise, spiritual exercise, prayers, fasting will I need to do to know my God better, and all of that? And the mental exercise. Do I need to read more books and just develop myself? So exercise. Then the fifth is exterminate. What are those particles of fear, panic, will I have to get rid of bad habits, and all of that. And the 6 is excel. Which area do I need to brush up to excel and to become better than myself? And the 7th is express. Where do I need to give vent to myself? Where do I need to raise further my game, my potential, and all of that? And number 8 is excite. What do I need to do to excite myself, to find deeper sense of meaning, joy, and happiness, and to radiate the same to people around me? The 9th one is expose. What do I need to expose myself to? New realms of knowledge, initiative, innovation, creativity. And the 10th one is extol. Where do I need to appreciate God, who has kept me all this while, COVID or no COVID? And where do I need to appreciate man? So 10 variables. And to doing this, we have come up with a global concept for everyone for free, that when you take this assessment, you can know where you are now for where you are supposed to be during the isolation period. When you match this 10 and you score yourself, it will bring you under a particular cluster for which we can sit you down to say, see, given this reality of your assessment, if you go into isolation this way, these are the tendencies you are likely to find. So all you just do is to send to my WhatsApp, james1kom@gmail.com. Coping is one leg, necessarily, and being productive during isolation is another leg, which is sufficient leg. So you need to combine the two. Otherwise, the negative side of isolation can come up.
Now, let's take a pause here. We'll continue shortly. You're watching Frontiers, and the program will continue shortly. Stay with us. Glad to know you're still there, Mr. Komolafe. You know, idleness at times leads to depression and sometimes even illness. Although you've outlined some measures that people could adopt to just keep themselves busy. But what do we do? What can people do to prevent depression at this period of time?
Depression, clinical depression, most times are caused. And you see, you have to watch against triggers. What are my triggers? You have to get yourself occupied, like I said. You have to channel your energies, spiritual energy, mental energy, emotional energy, and physical energy in the right perspective and order. Where you just leave yourself to chance and waiting for the 14 days to elapse. I'm sorry, isolation has an offering. You too also have an offering. You either offer isolation what you have for credible values through your energy that you dispense, or isolation gives you what it has. And you know what? When you sit there in a place not doing anything and just hoping for the best, it's a very serious and traumatic life. Because, you see, as you eat, you build calories. You also need to burn those calories. You need some exercises. You need to make yourself happy. You need to know that COVID has come and COVID will go. You need to find activities that will make you happy, make people around you happy, and then learn to tune down into moments of personal reflections. Look at where to cross your T's and dot your I. Call your neighbor. Oh, how are you coping? How are you feeling? And then disabuse your mind of anything negative. Tone down on hearing, 50 infected in Lagos, another 30 in Osun, 3 in FCT, and all of those. They can keep coming, but please play them down. Concentrate your mind on the positive. In fact, a law of attraction says wherever your attention goes, there your energy flows. So how do you engage yourself? Mentally, emotionally, physically, and otherwise matters a whole lot at this time. And before you know it, 14 days will be like 7 hours. Why? Because you have so much with which to load your day. That's why a wise man in a wisdom book says, so teach us to number our days so that we can apply our heart to wisdom. Because Obi, till tomorrow, the heart of the matter about life is the matter of the heart. Wherever your heart is, there your treasure is. So find your treasure at this time and fan it aflame. Don't just sit down taking metrics and biometrics of what is happening and all of that. Create your fun. Create your world. Reinvent yourself. Rediscover yourself. Learn a skill. You know what? The world is a global village. Hit the computer. Learn a skill. What are you passionate about? Learn more. Brush yourself. Interact. Interface. Connect with people. Connect with the outside world.
Mr.
A whole lot to
Komolafe,
do within 14
what is
days.
your advice to residents of these 3 affected states, and many of whom might psychologically be weighed down by the increasing number of cases discovered?
1, preventive measure. Do all the sanitizing. Keep the social distance. And don't be too preoccupied with the negatives, because negatives are developed in the dark room of the mind. Preoccupy yourself, read books, dance, catch fun, and then know certainly that coronavirus is a phase and it will certainly go away. And then see your time. In fact, to everyone, see this time as a moment of investment into your health, into your wellness, into your vibration. Don't just see yourself wasting time. See yourself building time and investing time into critical fundamentals that will improve your life, improve your vibration, so that when you come out of this moment, you are sharper, brighter,
And stronger.
to face the reality of the times. Because you see, everyone must take responsibility. And in behavioral health balance, responsibility in the 21st century is a quotient of 3 variables. We check your ability, what you have. We check your activity, what you do with what you have, and we check the reality, the circumstances around you. So your capacity to combine these 3 and be yourself makes your responsibility evident.
Okay, we'll wind it up here. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Komolafe. We appreciate your coming.
Good to be here.
And thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you so very much. So everybody is free to obtain the assessment and run it and see where you belong so that you can be helped.
Thank you very much once
Thank
more.
you very much.
On this edition of Frontiers, we took a look at the President's broadcast regarding the containment of further spread of COVID-19 with cessation of movement in Lagos, the Federal Capital Territory, and Ogun State. And our guest has been a behavioral expert, Mr. James Komolafe. Thanks for your time and stay safe.